Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We are live and we just got fence maker back.
Hi, everyone.
I'm back,
And it's just,
hopefully.
yes, you are. And we are live. So let's just get that link up there for anyone who's not stalking our channel. Why would you not? Okay, link is up and people are commenting. It's good to see.
I don't know if it's Fahad or Marek, but whoever has got music in the background, when you're not speaking, mute yourself.
It's
I
Fahad.
can, yeah, I can do that. I didn't know the music was that loud. But yes.
Your microphone must be really good.
Hello, Miran. We have people joining the stream, so that's good. We also have slide cards.
Shall we post about it somewhere?
It's gonna be posted, yes. It's
Okay.
already
Oh, yeah.
with it.
Rachel just posted.
Yeah. Hi, Tomo. It's great to see the regulars here. So we have an interesting bunch of updates today. Keep you guys posted on what's new and what's upcoming. Hey, Troy. Hi, Alfredo. Yeah, Mark has a Chinese New Year party. That's why he's has a camera. Hi, Nefto. Oh, Mark has appeared. The Mark has appeared.
Yes.
To deny all rumors as well. Okay, so Tom was asking for financial advice on a stream that cannot give financial advice. Oh no. We'll let the comment section handle that at this time. If anyone wants to comment or something. Yes. I think we can start going through the presentation and then people can come and look at the recording if they missed the beginning. So let's go ahead. Oh, people are suddenly flow. Okay, so today what's happening? There's a Chinese New Year giveaway. You heard it here first. There's an art, game design, and dev update. Actually, this is the game design part is the horse racing types, and the horse breeding fees. Actually, this is a teaser, so it's not gonna be described. So, yeah. First of all, the Chinese New Year giveaway. Marek, maybe you can elaborate on this.
Sure, absolutely. So, it's a really fun and important holiday in large part of the world, as you can imagine. It's the beginning of the new lunar year, the year of the rabbit. Officially, it started today. You might not know, but the celebration actually last 15 days Although obviously no one gets 15 days of work officially, depending on the country, it's 2 to 5 days. But yeah, we felt it would be fun to celebrate it and uh, just do a giveaway for our holders of our horses. So now or after the town hall, just go to the Discord and you will find the giveaway that you can enter in the channels called contest. I think no, I think it's not yet posted. So Rachel will post it probably after the town hall, and there will be 24 hours to enter, and there's one horse to be won. Whoever's lucky will get that horse at the end of the giveaway. And that's it. And for those who celebrate, I just wanted to wish you a happy New Year, lunar year, and may the next year be prosperous.
Excellent. So it's a simple raffle. It's gonna be to owners or holders only channel, and that's gonna be on our Discord. So you click a button, you wait 24 hours or less, and then you get the result. And yeah, it's a happy Chinese New Year to all who celebrate that. On to our next section, art. So this is just a sample of some of the assets that we're making. We actually have a few more. It's just some examples. So when we talk about foliage, when we talk about props, you guys see here a fancy abstract horse statue shown here. And buildings like this one, I wonder if someone can identify this building or where it's supposed to be. But this is gonna drop into our first racetrack, basically. And yeah, we have a bunch more foliage, a bunch more props, and a bunch more buildings, as you can guess. And that is part of what we're doing to keep the racetrack scenes fresh and lively and beautiful looking. So that's one part. And we had two stems, a bit of a short one. Development side, I leave this to First Maker to give us an explanation.
Yeah, on the dev side, there's less great things to say because features are already done. We're mostly going through bugs, and we have a lot of QA going on. And there's a few bugs in a few places that are taking a bit of time to just make sure that we're sending you a better version. And this release will be much smoother. Uh, Basically, so we're working on some kind of the guild mechanics, sometimes like the owner, like an admin could kick an owner and stuff like that. So there are a few interactions in the table of permissions in the owner admin member dynamic of the guilds that were not perfect. It's just making sure the permissions do the right thing, and the back end does not allow any weird stuff to happen. Apart from that, we're planning testnet mint. So I'm reusing the code from back in December 2021 to generate new random horses, and I'm gonna mint horses on the testnet and skins and jockeys on the testnet, and basically the whole beta website will hook onto the pre-prod, which is just the main net, but on the testnet, so the normal testnet. And we'll be testing a lot of things on the testnet going forward, especially the smart contract, right? The racing smart contract will be deployed on the testnet first, and we'll be doing test races and everything on the testnet in order that if anything goes wrong for any reason, even though it shouldn't, we all know testing is important. So let's say horses get locked and cannot be unlocked or something. We didn't think of an edge case or a malicious way to send a horse in or something. And well, it'll be on the testnet, and we can just say, well, too bad, and mint another horse and not care. So the consequences will be way less bad if anything happens, which once again it shouldn't, but it's code. So we're going to be careful. There's an audit and everything, but we'll also just launch it on the testnet first. I think that's necessary. So I'm preparing the assets. Those will not be actual horses from the release of Pioneer Horses. I will generate random new ones so that nobody gets extra info on anything by playing the testnet. So testnet is random horses. It doesn't matter. It's a parallel universe. And then on the viewer side, we redesigned a bit of the asset loading loop and pre-warm, so that now it starts a bit earlier with the app, and it loads the things in the background better. For you guys, what that means is that once you click on the 3D stable and you get to see your horses, it should be quicker. Though we haven't made the scene necessarily smaller this time around. I've got plans for that, but this hasn't materialized yet. We're in discussion with the Babylon JS viewer people. But it should still feel faster for you guys, even though your computer is going to do as much work as before. It's just going to do a lot of it in the background. So hopefully that's better. And beta testers realized that the jockeys were not correct. So we've changed the whole jockey loading so that the textures will be applied correctly, and that your gold jockeys will be gold again. Let's make the jockeys gold again. Still looks very promising. I mean, we're running the tests and doing some QA, but we're very close to being done. Don't want to promise anything, but it's going to be in the next few weeks for sure for the social release and the viewer. And then a few of our devs have even moved on, and I've started creating a few of the racing pages. So, it's looking forward for the next milestone, which is my favorite one. But that's it
Yeah,
for dev.
thanks, Nick. Maybe worth clarifying just in case it's confusing. I think the scene not being smaller that Nick just mentioned is compared to the update we just shared before that, which is already on our scene. So compared to what you guys have in public, it is much smaller already, just compared from the last update. So incrementally, it has not decreased from 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, but compared to what's in public, it's already much smaller, much more
Yeah,
efficient.
you're right.
So
That's what I meant.
yeah, and we hope to say again no promises, but I believe we have enough reasons to believe that, subject to no drastic surprises, possibly social release before the next town, if all goes well. Fingers crossed. Um, at least we are very close to that, and we have enough reasons to believe that that's feasible. There's a question from Miran, which I think we can answer in the email. There's a few interesting things that we'd like to share about horse race types. So we basically fleshed out the racing design to an extent where we can share basically this structure. I know that many people are really thirsty for these details. Um, this is broad in the explanation here. I try to provide my best verbal explanation, and then we'll also put this together in a much easier to read essay document. Eventually, it should go also in the white paper V2. So, three race types: maiden races, class races, and group races. Maiden races, as defined, will basically be races that are restricted to horses that have not yet won a single race. So for a horse to join class races, they need to win a maiden race. Um, these maiden races are a category or a type of races of their own, and they're also eventually going to be age restricted. So the pioneer horses, when first activated, they're going to be 2 years old, but then the next month, when they all age, they're going to be 3 years old. So when they're 3 years old, the maidens that are 3 years old are going to race only against the maidens that are 3 years old, and so on and so forth. So if your horse reaches, let's say, 5 years old and has not yet won a race, it's going to only race in the maidens, not competing against fresh, younger horses that are possibly, let's say, physically stronger or mentally, but it's going to compete with maidens who are of its own age. 6+ category will remain open. So 6 years and older maidens are going to be their own category. So we're not going to cut up any further in the age. So 6+ could be a 10-year-old versus a 7-year-old maiden. But these are going to be the maiden races. That's type 1. Type 2 is the class races. So as soon as you win the maiden race, you're able to join class races. Class races are going to be by definition 5 classes, 5 to 1. And it's going to be based on the racing point system. Now, the class races will also be a variety of races. And there's also a general, let's say, guidelines that we follow in all of the scheduling of these races, which I'll share in a little bit. But generally speaking, class races, first of all, will be divided into two, let's say, groups that are age related. So there's going to be the juvenile class races, that's for 2 and 3 year olds, because obviously they can't really stand, let's say, a fair comparison with the mature horses. So 2 and 3 year old juvenile class races will be their own category. If a 2 year old can win their maidens, they can compete against a 3 year old, let's say, class race. As soon as they hit 4 years old and they're in class races, they're basically it's a open slather for all the horses that are in class races. And then within that, there's obviously the different classes. And the other general guideline is that there will be a variety of track lengths to cover all the horse, let's say, all of the horse basically strengths. I might actually it's actually it's just very sensitive. So the classes basically are all of the races will basically be able to cater to all the different, let's say, lengths that allow different horses to shine depending on where they excel in terms of their stats and performance. Also, when we have more tracks available, it's also the different shapes and the curvatures, etc. And then number three is actually, before I go to group races, within class races, we'll also have features like handicap races, and those would be basically open to all classes, all together in the same races, but they will have handicaps applied. So you're going to have class restricted races, which are only for the same classes, and then whether it's juvenile or not. And then the other type is basically the handicap class races, and that's where you have basically all classes are able to join, but they all have a handicap applied to them based on their class and based on their so that's a type. And the third type is allowances. That's also within class races. So that's class races that have penalties applied based not only on class, but instead of on class, on age, on number of past wins, possibly, depending on the whole idea of this is to have a variety of, and this is realistic, this is all also from the racing industry, where there are all kinds of different rules that give different horses basically, let's say, a more competitive edge in different races. So the core is the vanilla class races. The maiden races are obviously the beginning races for any horse until it can win a race. And then the class races, and then within those, there's the standard vanilla class races, which again are the core. And then there's handicaps and allowances to add more variety. So handicaps will allow all classes to join together. And then allowance races will be age related, prize money won related, recent wins, and all of that to just add more variety and more flair to races. And group races. So group races will be the biggest category. They are the equivalent of events. So those are going to be three groups: Group Three, Group Two, and Group One. Where Group One is the highest category of race that any horse would have the honor of racing in, and those would again have eligibility for entry, primarily based on prizes won. So that will be the main factor per season, and obviously, as you guys can see, there's a lot of variety here considered in terms of basically the different requirements for entering, and also the different penalties or allowances that are given. Um, Race entry fees. I think everyone has been very interested in this. It's in a 5-tier system. Main disclaimer: this is subject to change. This is what we want to have in the release. Obviously, massive ADA exchange rates and other things could cause this to change. But for now, we believe this is a reasonable system. This is based on the paid races having the three lower tiers would be open to all classes. So then that would start from 10 ADA, 25 ADA, and 50 ADA. That's per entry. And then the tiers 2 and 1, which are the highest two classes, would have the higher tiers of entry, 100 ADA and 250 ADA. We thought that restricting this to the highest classes just made the most sense, even though it said this, okay, I think this is probably explanatory in the open to all classes, but just to explain more is that the tiers 2 and 1 will be available to the highest classes, but they will still have the lower tiers of entry fee. So they'll have all five of these entry fees, tiers. Obviously, free races will still be accessible. They'll be available periodically at a certain frequency or interval available per day for a number of free races. That will be detailed in let's say, showed in more detail in next updates. But this shares basically the entry fee concept that we haven't proposed to have for the release. We're always open to feedback. We're always open to hear from you. The system we're designing allows us flexibility in terms of game design changes when and if necessary, but also obviously we want there to be a certain level of stability and to understand really how the game works and reacts to different, let's say, system changes. So that's all we have here for the game design. We welcome any kind and all kinds of feedback. There's a bit more detail that we haven't gone into here. Breeding fees. We have a very, very interesting model that we believe solves most of the problems that other, let's say, blockchain games have faced with breeding systems. Um, Details are still being ironed out just to make sure that these let's say systems make the most sense. We'll be sharing more updates in the next town halls very soon. That's
You
all for this part.
you mentioned free races have payouts, right?
Yeah, yeah. Free races are basically races which you get to enter, and if you win, you get payouts without yeah, paying an entry fee. That's the design of free races. And we head on to the community event, Mark.
Sure. So, as discussed before, we continue with our underground invitational community event run through our great mini game created by Osasia from our community. This time we will have 4 classes, which means that every day next week from Monday to Thursday there will be a series of qualifying races, one class per day. So to enter, you have to be around when there is a call for it, enter the race in time, and if your horse will place high enough, you will get a spot in the finale that will happen on Sunday. And then few things to mention here, because that was something that was brought up, that the class of 151 plus might be a little bit too broad, that the horses that are between 151 and let's say 170 probably don't have a chance against those higher ones, and maybe something we could change. We obviously hear you. In this case we wanted to still run it as this because it was already announced. However, the plan is that moving forward, we will, first of all, in the future months, we will have probably 1 or 2 classes per month, just to make it a bit easier, and then we probably will experiment with those top classes to split it a little bit. But for now, this is how we will run it. Again, it is a fun event that we like to do because our community enjoys it. But it's not exactly our game, right? It doesn't use our engine. It doesn't use some of the stats that are hidden. So this is more for fun. And if you can go to the next slide, Fahad, just to talk about the Sunday final. So we will obviously have semifinals and finals because we'll have 16 horses from each class qualifying. So we'll run 3 races per class at the same time as the town hall right now, just next Sunday. And as usual, top 3 horses in each class will win a prize. And one thing I didn't mention, both qualification and the final will be happening as 2 laps in the rain. So if you are fine-tuning which horse to enter, take that into account. Yeah, so I think that covers it.
Thanks a lot, Mark. I opened the first AMA slide, but first I'll mention something I suppose that was mentioned in chat here about the races. So claiming and allowance races, I think already answered allowance races. For claiming races, we realize that they are an important variant of races. For technical reasons, we don't want to introduce them in the first version, mainly because of the complication of combining both a race entry and a sale offer at the same time with a changing recipient of the horse. It does complicate the smart contract a lot just to introduce claiming races in the system, but we recognize that they're a very interesting type of race, and we want to build that dynamic in future versions. So claiming races later, allowance races will be in there with different variety of types of races. So that's a question. Question: in
Well,
racing, will horse be able to switch lanes? Maybe Nick, you
y-
can.
yeah. About that, I've been told I already modeled wind into the game and wind direction. So if you're facing the wind or you've got the wind in your back, it makes a difference. Now I've been explained that trailing another horse to get in it to get it to break the wind for you, like in cycling, is actually a huge part of the game mechanics of being a great racer, like in cycling. So I'll definitely include into lane switching and the whole 2D part of the game where you're moving from left to right. The whole logic of trailing, wind drafting, getting in the back of another horse, and also then passing them. So there's going to be multiple logics to that. Yes, getting to the rail, but getting to the rail is not the whole logic. If you get to the rail but you stick yourself behind another horse, um, in a way that's not optimal, and that's not great. So you have to be trailing a horse if you're saving energy, and then use that energy to pass the horse, right? Otherwise, you're not winning any races with that. And you've got to not get stuck. Like if all the horses just go to the rail, that's going to be very weird. So no, absolutely, there's going to be switching lanes, because that's right. And there's going to be different forces coming into play to make your decisions of whether you're just going to stay behind and take second place, or try to pass, or do whatever. So that's going to be based a lot on your mental stats and on your physical stats. Of course, if you're not tired, you're going to try to pass. But if you're tired and different mental stats come into play, you might decide not to pass. You might be afraid to. You might try to pass even though you shouldn't have. So all of that is going to just come into play. Yeah, for sure.
Nick, but does anyone on your core dev team have any scientific development experience? So that was just a fun question.
Well, yeah, I spent about 8 years doing professional physics simulation during my master's and PhD, and then I spent another about 8 years working in different professional settings in machine vision and in even computational biochemistry, doing only physics simulation and biochemical simulations of stuff. So that's pretty much all I've been doing in my professional life.
I wonder if that helps in creating a good-looking horse racing simulation.
Well,
Anyway,
and yeah, it should come into play at some point.
it's a rhetorical question. Next question: is there an updated roadmap or timeline? And the short answer is, we are basically still following the same phases or milestones as have been shared in the recent, all of the past recent town halls. So we're heading in the same direction. Basically, we have our social release coming up very soon, like on the horizon, not even on the horizon, but right in front of us, and then racing right after, which should only be a few months hopefully after. All forces are moving in the right directions. All our developers are doing what they need to be doing next. All development is going in full speed, full force. So in that sense, yes. If you're looking for a promised deadline or timeline, we have basically stopped doing that, at least not as a strict one. But we are looking forward to releasing social soon. We are looking forward to releasing racing and breeding right after, pretty soon after, I'll say. And yeah, all things are going and progressing as they should be. So that's more general answer. With the horses, we breed reflect the DNA combination of their parents' original racing trait values or a combo of their fully matured trait values.
Well, that's been answered correctly by a mod in the chat in the Discord already, but the answer basically is both parents have full DNA with genes, and they are gonna do like in real life, pass on one of the two genes in the pair of their genes and to make a new offspring, right? So the stallion and the mare are going to pass one of the two of each gene and make a new DNA, and that spells out basically the whole horse, its colors, its spots, its statistics as it grows and everything. The only thing it doesn't take into account is training, because that's a life event. But everything that's in DNA is in it just gets claimed, just get passed on to the children. And we also built in a mechanic where there's rarely going to be slight genetic mutations during the breeding, so you might also just get a surprise. And this
Exciting.
and sorry, and just to say the surprise, I'm not programming them in. It's just like I'm flipping a value and it's gonna do what it does, right? I don't care. It's just a genetic mutation and it has effects. I'm not looking into the
Yep.
results.
It's a programmed function to sometimes produce a surprise that you wouldn't be predicting, right? That's what we say. And yeah, the surprise could be better or worse. It's a flip to it. Okay, so that is the end of our posted AMAs. I'm gonna take a couple from chat that we got earlier. There was there's a question from Miran saying how many people are on the team now, and Nick mentioned the dev part of the team. I would say it depends on whether you count, for example, full time, part time, whether you count the artist team, marketing team, community team, etc. I would say we're easily beyond the 20 mark if you include the artist, if you include the community team, and and yeah, that's it's a pretty big team. We're talking, including also obviously our web developers, including our blockchain developers, and including our 3D engine developers, our artists, marketing team, community. That already hits about 20 plus. That's one question. There's a question about, yeah, I mentioned about claiming races there. There's a question here saying, is there any plan to implement stablecoin entries? 10 ADA is fine now. In a few years, that 10 ADA will be, I would say, might be a lot more pricey to enter races. Yeah, we're aware of that, and we're also really not looking to lock everyone into a certain, let's say, ADA entry pattern. We're sharing these as what we see feasible for release. If ADA makes a 10x between today and the release, I think we definitely need to revise it. So it's basically what we see as a reasonable range right now. Whether we implement stablecoin entries, I would say when we have stable coins that are practical, functional, and quote unquote stable on Cardano, then I think will be the right time to assess whether we can pull that off. But I think it makes sense for the community and also for the platform to consider that. So I think it's not a bad idea in general. And yeah, there's a comment here about getting to the rail. Hunting Mike is sharing has a lot to do with horses running less. And yeah, that whole simulation dynamic I think is pretty detailed, but also necessary to be realistic because it also affects performance in the dynamic of mental stats and physical stats, both actually, and also shares. I do not mind claiming races not being a part of the first version of Equine, but I absolutely believe it's important to be part of version 2 or 3. Which is fine because we do not have to start acquiring horses on the first version. But yeah, anyone who wants to wait has that option. Obviously, we built that in. So
JPS
Nick,
says,
yeah, no was the answer to that question I saw but couldn't reply to because it's not yet out.
huh?
1 second.
That would also mean 21 prices. Well, there's a question in JPS in the Discord that asks, could entry fees be bounded to like the dollar or some other stablecoin, which is kind of also the same question. Uh, but it's asked differently. And how many horses are there per race? So to re-answer that, while not being tied to a stable coin, like Fahad said, if ADA 10x's, we're gonna look at the entry race of the entry fee of the races and make it do something reasonable, right? We don't want people to have to spend an inordinate amount of money even for the lowest races, obviously. So we're going to try to do the right thing, but right now it's not pegged to any kind of fiat in that sense for the racing entry fees. For now it's an ADA, and we'll see what ADA does. And for the number of horses per race, I think it's very close to. I love to have to. Well, we can put very high rollers entry fees for you guys that do want to do that. Um, I think there's 16 horses to a race, approximately in most races, though that can vary a lot, and that could vary also just from people coming in to less than that. I think the race is gonna happen even though there's a lot less horses than that on the field if there's less entries. So it depends, but I think 16 is the right ballpark figure.
Yeah, but we'll also cater to the different field sizes. It will depend on the track and the course. Um, yeah, that will be the field size. But I think a variety of field sizes is also interesting because it adds one more level of depth to the mental stats. As a horse might do better with 8 horses only on the field versus 16. So we want to have those options available to the players. Um, yeah, and there have been questions about, for example, race frequency and like how easy it will be for people to enter races, etc. We have some very creative solutions to that, which I think will keep the player base happy, uh, very happy with how it's done. So, we have some very interesting tricks up our sleeve in regards to that. Um, yeah, we have a question from Tomo saying, have you had any thoughts on how to market the game prior to its release? Maybe more word of mouth marketing. Well, the release, as in the racing and breeding release, we already have a bunch of pioneer holders who would be going full force. But even then, you won't have growth in horses until the next month after that. And obviously, we want people to be excited. I think there's a lot of word of mouth marketing that will happen. But we're already doing marketing from here until the release. And obviously, depending on the stage we're at, we'll ramp up marketing as we get closer. But it all depends on where we are and what we have to market. And obviously, having races out is one of the most marketable events to have. Question: how many horses can we breed with my 2 horses? So our cooldown is every month, which is a horse year, is one one fall per mare, which is a standard, let's say, life cycle. And then the stallions have a chance to be used up to 5 times a month. So that's the count. So we count it based on whether it's a mare or a colt. But if you have one pair, then that's going to be one per month is the count. So that's a simple answer. Um, Jacket Potatoes requesting a whole restart. So let's go to the first slide of the. Okay, we can watch the video. So that's, I believe, the end of our AMA, unless you have any more questions. Keep an eye out for more news. We are finalizing the racing details as we shared earlier. And we're also sharing we'll be sharing also the breeding details um, very soon. And that will also lead us to another, let's say, larger update where we'll be sharing with you a new concept that we'll also be adding into the equine ecosystem. That's going to be, I think, an interesting addition to the overall, let's say, process. And we'll be sharing more as those details come. So join us in 2 weeks for the next Sunday town hall that's going to be on the 5th of February. Um, Thank you to everyone who joined. Uh, we really appreciate everyone who joins us here. Don't forget, if you're an equine holder, to go into the giveaway that's been posted. There's a chance to win a horse in that Chinese New Year giveaway. It's only 24 hours. It's going to close. Yeah, and thanks a lot for joining. Let us know your feedback. Yeah,
If you can give me 1 second for Jacket that came in late and says, "Can you start over? I missed. I came in late." The moment we stop recording, you're gonna get on YouTube and you can put it back. You just press 0 and you're gonna be at the beginning of the video. If you guys don't know that, the numbers on your keyboards on YouTube take you to the percentage of the video. So 1 takes you to 10%, 2 to 20, 3 to 30. So you can jump in a video very quickly just by pressing a number. So 0 takes you to the beginning.
that's a pro tip. If you ever heard one, I never knew you could do that. So thanks a lot for tuning in. We really appreciate everyone who joins us every time. And yeah, let us know what you think. If you have any feedback or any thoughts, uh, please share with us. And this is Fahad Woken signing out.
Thank you
Thank you
guys.
so
Have a
much.
great day.